Hello there and welcome back to my channel. Today I will make a small pot that looks like a paper bag. You know the brown paper bags? That looks a little bit like cardboard. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. First of all, I wedge the clay and then I use my rolling pin to get it really thin. I use a chipwood board, and the chipwood actually takes away a little bit of the moisture of the clay. So I turn it many times to really stretch out the clay. The best thing with this clay is that it actually looks like cardboard when it's burnt, and because it's also a stoneware clay, it will hold water even though I don't glaze it. Of course, I have to burn it in the kiln. I cut away the edges and check the thickness of the clay and try to make it the same. When the board gets sticky, it's because it's too wet, so I can actually turn the board around and keep on with my rolling pin until I'm happy. I use a small paper to get a small square, and then I use a needle tool and gently just draw around it. I will not push through yet. When I have the walls and the bottom, I use my needle tool and cut through the clay the whole way. It might be good to leave the clay to dry for a while. This way the clay stiffens a little bit and it's easier to build with it, especially if you want to build a box. The pot is going to look like a cardboard box in the beginning, and as you can see, it's already quite stiff. Here comes now the tricky part of this project, and it's really good if you have prepared yourself in advance. So I have this cardboard box. You can actually have a book, any kinds of cardboard boxes, a piece of wood, or anything that gives support to your clay. But remember, it will get a little bit messy when you put the slip on. After that, it's time to attach the sides, and I really try to push them together so they really stick well. And as you can see, the clay is really wet still. It will not stand up by itself. So I use again a small piece of wood to support the whole thing, and that way it's much easier to work on it. I messed up a little bit with the focusing on my camera, so I'm sorry for that, but this is now different ways of supporting the clay. On the right hand side you have a piece of wood, on the left hand just a cardboard box. If you have some additional hands, let's say some friend helping you, it's much easier to do this. When all the walls are together, it's time to smoothen everything out. And you can use a wooden tool, a scraping tool, a silicone tip brush, and of course, just your fingers. I always think that my fingers are the best tools. If you want to cut something away, use a thread instead of a knife. I want the rim to be really thin, just like a paper box. So just by squeezing the edges, I get the rim much thinner than the rest of the box. I use a small ruler to push into the clay and this way get a small line so I know where to start shaping my clay. You can of course use a piece of wood also if you want to, but be careful. Push gently, otherwise you might break the clay, especially if it's really thin. My clay has a lot of grog in it, but if you have a smoother clay, you will get a more delicate pot and you can make really nice shapes to it. This one will be a little bit more rough. But again, more grog and it will probably hold better. This is now the other side. So I have two sides leaning inwards and yes, just take a look. It's always good to have one hand on the inside when you work on the outside, and the other way around, of course. If you want to plant something inside of this pot, it's important that it keeps water, especially if you have it inside. If you have it outside, you might, the other way around, want to have a hole or two in it so that the excess water can get out. I now use my fingers to get the shapes that I want. Just by pushing and pulling inwards and outwards, I get the shape that I want. It's important that the clay is not too dry nor too wet. As you can see, one of the corners now broke, so I have to put a little bit more slip in and attach them really well. Otherwise, the crack will get bigger when it dries up. I could actually stop at this stage and just leave it to dry, but I want to make small saw blade edges on top of this one. So I use a small needle and cut away a little bit of the clay. And also, of course, use my fingers to squeeze it together. This takes a little bit of time, but well, you have to go through the whole rim like this. The cleaning up is much easier when the clay has dried for a while, so you can actually just make the pattern and leave it for a while and then again go through it if you want. This so-called paper bag pot is now almost done, and I can of course just leave it to dry and glaze it if I want to. But the color of the clay is perfect, like it is. Some last adjustments and then I'm done. And this is actually the color of the clay when it's dry, and it will actually not change much from this when it's burnt. Thank you so much for watching, and hit the like button And if you like my videos, remember to subscribe. Cheers from Finland. Bye bye.